Thanks so much for being here, y'all. I am recording this for YouTube because I have been dreading this day. Like, I literally had to take the weekend and like yesterday just to process this, because this is like my worst fear come alive. This is the worst case scenario. But it's okay. I don't want anybody to panic. We're gonna figure it out. I do think there's a chance this will just pass and be completely like a nothing burger. But I just want to put some information out there. Thank you, Ivory. Okay, and before I really get going, let me just address, hi, Angel. Let me just address a comment in here that says we need God in this country. The best part is you can already have God in this country. Like anywhere in this country, you have that freedom. What is the problem? Hi, Take It Sleazy. Thank you so much. So, yeah, that's the best part. I don't know what y'all are always complaining about when it comes to freedom. Like, you have religious freedom. Like, breaking news. America allows people to believe whatever they want, and we would like it to stay that way. You fucking dipshits. Okay, so let's talk about this fucking weirdo. And if you know nothing about this man, the reason that I was so shocked and like had to take some time to process this, yeah, he was on CNN, and our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, was like reposting the clips from CNN. And he's a member of the congregation, and they recently just opened up a campus in DC. Now, that is what is really freaking me out. So when I heard a couple months ago that this man was moving into DC, my heart sank into my ass, because I have, unfortunately I have like experience, not with this particular church, but with like Reformed churches in general. And while a lot of them are like, I guess I should say, while a lot of people that go to these Reformed churches are not like fully bought in on every piece of the ideology, like women submitting, women not voting, like stuff like that, they're bought in on enough to still be extremely dangerous. Lori, thank you so much. And what they're bought in on, and this is the freakiest part, is taking over the country one little piece at a time, and like doing, oh God, how do I explain this? It's basically like a ground up movement. Okay. I am absolutely just terrified, because I remember there was a documentary in the works a couple of years ago that I was aware of, about Christians like getting into local government, right? And the goal was like, oh, we're just gonna like spread the love of God through the local government, because like ultimately we want a Christian nation, right? Now, what Christian can say like no to that? Like, what, do you know what I mean? Like, as a Christian, you hear somebody say that and you're like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely. And so this is the part that's really going unnoticed. Yeah. And Ivory Isabel says the biggest difference is now they say the quiet part out loud. And I totally agree. But I want also y'all to understand that they have been saying it very loudly inside of these buildings. This was never the quiet part to the people that are preaching and supporting this, okay? None of this was ever quiet. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Like, based on like my experience, and based on like, what I'm worried about is why the fuck is he being given a platform on CNN to say the quiet part out loud? Because this man has absolutely no problem saying the quiet part out loud, but why the F would CNN give him that platform? That is what really concerns me, because as I think we all know, the government is often like all in on something. Like the government, the like media and stuff like that. And it really worries me that they have decided to platform this man like this, because I feel like it's manufactured consent. and I don't really know how to say this, like, you know what I mean, exactly, without sounding like a super, you know, a super weirdo, but like there is that aspect of manufactured consent that I think both sides of the media definitely like play up on. And so this, I don't even know where to start. Do you guys want to hear his background first, or do you want me to like expound on the beliefs, like some of their most disturbing beliefs? Because I have been, full disclosure, I have been keeping an eye on this man for like 6 years now. And so, okay, background. So let me kind of go back to that. I've been keeping an eye on this man for about 6 years now. Yes, user 472 and all those other numbers. Remember when you said no revolution would happen and CEOs are being killed and media muting it? That's what I mean. And both sides of the media are muting it. You know what I mean? CNN does not want an uprising. You know what I mean? They both belong to the capitalists, right? Thanks, y'all. Am I currently religious or attend church? Hell no. I do the opposite of attend church. I basically evangelize to people about why religion is fucking terrible. That was one of the first warning flags for me. As far as like, you got to get the F out of the church. It was seeing that people were starting to like repost and like this guy's stuff. I became absolutely terrified because he's always said the quiet part out loud. Like that's what I'm kind of here to bring the attention to, because this man has never hidden his views, and I'm just flabbergasted that like CNN is putting him on a platform and that Pete Hegseth is retweeting him. And I think worst case scenario, he'll be visiting the White House in like 2 weeks. And then from there, I really don't know what's going to happen. Jace, hi. Yeah. Jace says, if you don't follow Jace Mercutio yet, please do. This is like literally one of my favorite creators, one of my favorite people. So full of wisdom, and as a neurodivergent person himself has really kept me from the brink of that, you know, kind of black and white binary thinking in a lot of cases. So please follow Jace. So Doug Wilson is a self-appointed pastor, right? That's the best thing about like, you know, religion and all of these, like why it serves men so well is that basically any man can go out there and start a church. Sorry, there's so many things I want to say. I should have like outlined it, but instead I ran here. Okay. Yeah, they never have a theology degree. He's basically self-taught. He's basically understands the Bible like through his own, you know what I mean, through his own lens. Like he uses the Bible to confirm his already existing beliefs. Exactly, love ya. He literally just runs on Audacity. Exactly. And so the other thing I'm going to tell y'all before I get into all this is that like, okay, we have to get like our brains out of the TikTok news cycle. Like that, kind of 24 hours, like, you know what I mean, where you think people might be fear mongering, because I would really implore y'all to go back and watch some of the videos I made right after the election, because it took about, you know, what are we in the 8th month of the year? It took about 8 months for some of that stuff to come to fruition, right? And so when I say a lot of this stuff, it's going to seem, you know, far-fetched for right now. But I said in November, the public perception of women is about to hit a new low. And what have we seen? We have seen nothing but that. I said that there's going to be like economic turmoil, all of that. You can go back. The receipts are all there. And so everything I'm going to say is going to be, you know, is going to seem a little bit. Yeah, exactly, Jace. We're not fear mongering. None of us have even had rights long enough to take them for granted. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the right really likes to act like. They like to act as though, oh, well, women have rights, you know, or, well, you know, we don't practice things like slavery in this country.
But it's like, yeah, but why did those things even need to be mentioned? Like, why wasn't it just already, why were we not already just viewing everybody as a human and giving everybody human rights? All humans should have had human rights to begin with. Like, human rights is kind of like, is a crazy concept that not all humans would have them. But anyways, so to go back, yeah, the bar definitely is in hell. And I think if you can leave the country, you should. But just know that please go to like a safe country if you're a person of color. Because Europe is not much better as far as the prejudice goes in some countries. So one thing I really need y'all to understand, the reason this is scary is because these people... Okay, this is not the only Reformed church. This is not the only church that supports and quotes and uplifts and platforms not only Doug Wilson, but like his rhetorics, okay? And I need y'all to understand that. Like there was a splitting off of my church and my ex-church. I don't go to church. I'm going to just keep making that very clear. Yeah, so there was a church that split off from my church, and the like original church actually like disowned them and like did not want to have them as a campus because they took on these religious views. So mind you, I was not going to a church at any point that had these views, okay? A lot of Reformed churches, like they're not like this radical. But a lot of them are, and a lot more of them are. And so from like bigger Reformed churches, I think these little ones have been splitting off for years. And they are infiltrating America starting from the ground up. And I need people to like really like to really think about how that is not happening on the left at all whatsoever. So I need you to understand that there are so many communities in which there's a church like this that is out there, not just meeting on Sundays, but they have like community groups, every Wednesday. Then there's like the service days or whatever. There is community outreach that they do, and they prey on vulnerable people who need help. With, food drives or food banks or like conditional type of help, like, oh, well, come to church and, you can have like a free coffee, you can have like, some food, you can have some community, right? And because people really, really, really want that community, they come and they stay. And these churches are huge. Like, I don't think a lot of people are not internalizing that this is like hundreds to thousands of people meeting for possibly like several services per Sunday. So like there could be, you know what I mean? Like 2,000-3,000 people coming through just per Sunday. And I'm telling you, they're starting these churches in neighborhoods, and then they're infiltrating. Okay. So then the richer people from that church typically will campaign and run for local government. And there's really no need to panic. We just need to understand that this has been unfortunately happening for years. This infiltration, this grassroots indoctrination strategy, Black Widow, exactly, has been branching out like a spider web. And there's a new season of Shiny Happy People on Amazon Prime that kind of has to do with this. But imagine that, but also like there's parallel movements to that. It's not just that like, they were getting people that are like millennials age now, like just fired up for Christ and stuff like that. They were getting them fired up just in general, like fired up about the state of the world and like the sin and everything like that. But even the people that you're going to see in Shiny Happy People, please let me tell you that they do not compare. This is like an infinity times worse. So when they have meetings at their church, only the men are allowed in. So that's why they like don't they don't want women voting or whatever. Like, that's their whole thing. So they're already practicing that. Okay? So you need to understand that this is not the quiet part being said out loud. The quiet part has been being said out loud in the churches, and it is literally Gilead. I've never seen the show, but I have seen like episode 1. Couldn't make it past that. But yes, that's exactly what they want. And I've seen like enough clips to kind of know what's going on. This man's background and like everything leading up till now, if you ran in like Christian Reformed circles, you have probably seen this man as, he kind of made his name as a debater. So I remember like all the Christians were kind of like freaking out about him like beating Christopher Hitchens in a debate, and like he like owned Christopher Hitchens, which I'm sure wasn't true. I never watched it. Kind of how he earned his name. He was basically just like a troll, and he was just willing to debate anybody. Again, he's like a self-named, self-appointed, self-educated theologian. And the thing that he does best, and now this is the other thing that's really like very, very interesting about this whole thing, is if you go down the rabbit hole, or like I said, if you know people that have like associated themselves with him and his teachings, it's the way they speak. He has like a whole dialect that he's basically has passed on to his congregation, and they all sound the same, and it's all just absolute word salad. Okay, so for example, I'm going to read y'all something. Have you heard anything about Project Esther? No. This is going to be a deep dive even like without that. But if somebody wants to enlighten us in the comments, that would be great. Sorry y'all, I don't know why it won't log into my fucking... Yeah, so he basically like just has a basic degree from the University of Idaho. Oh, it's the next step to Project 2025. Yeah, I bet. The thing is, I know it just not by that name. Do you know what I mean? Like, I absolutely understand what they're trying to do. And it's not going to be good if it like is allowed to happen. The kind of fortunate thing is that it is going to be extremely difficult to repeal the 19th Amendment. So I just want everybody to kind of like rest easy in that, because it's gonna be, I think he will sooner be like forcibly removed than allowed to repeal that amendment. I think that is when the Democrats will jump up to their feet and kind of do something, because if women cannot vote, then the Democrats will never win again. And it's basically like a stupidly straightforward, just like really childish plan based on like who votes for whom. And they know that white males will basically always vote for, the Republican Party or just like another white male. And that is the only thing that's going to draw them out. And so, yeah. But this man is extremely diabolical. Okay. I don't know how there's literally like so much weird information about him that I'm just going to give y'all the kind of more pertinent. I don't want to say juicy, because this isn't really about like tea. This isn't tea. This is just like why I'm so shocked that he's being platformed at all by CNN or anybody, because like it's the fact that they're helping him find more people for the congregation. I really am having trouble with that, because I do feel like we are manufacturing consent, and it's extremely worrisome. So he did not attend seminary, but he basically just like founded things and then made his family in charge of it. So their entire organization, which goes under the name Canon Press, and then he's got like things like logos and like a college. Like this is like a full infiltration system. And it's basically a family business. It's basically like a tax evasion scheme. It's basically, the name of his school is New St. Andrews College. So he and his wife have been married for like almost 50 years. They have 3 kids and kids-in-law, a bunch of grandchildren, etc. But yeah, all of his kids have either worked for him or write for him, or yes, they have a school. Yes, they have a school. It's like, and it's basically, again, he did not go to seminary, which, funny, you should ask. A lot of pastors that go to seminary, that will usually be the first like string that they pull in their deconstruction process, and then the whole sweater comes apart. It's actually very telling that he didn't go to seminary, because a lot of people that don't go to seminary, or the people that kind of like survive through seminary, you have to be kind of a sociopath, you know what I mean? You have to think that whatever the God of the Bible is doing, especially in the Old Testament, is all good and okay. And this man does. So starting with basically, like, as far as his background, like, that's what I can tell you is he started out like debating people. He kind of made a name for himself that way. And then he opened, you know, these churches, these campuses, these like, love you back, Ciani. He is exactly just like the kind of Christian patriarchal man that I really want to warn y'all about, because these people literally run on narcissism, sociopathy, and audacity. And Charlie Kirk is following in his footsteps. They've been following in each other's footsteps. The thing is, the thing that also I think is important to understand and like mention as part of this conversation is, oh, thanks, y'all, is that what really unites these people is misogyny and like an allegiance to the patriarchy, but in like a very sinister way. And misogyny, I literally mean seeing women not as people. And you don't have to be a Christian to do that, but Christianity justifies it, and so it draws these people in. And then they find each other within these Christian circles. And that is where it gets really, really scary. Is there not sinister way to be into the patriarchy? No. But I just mean, yeah. I just mean like they know what they're doing. Like, you know, I guess I'm trying to differentiate between like men who are into the patriarchy, because it's like the current that's taking all men towards that, and they don't really know it. They're just like benefiting from it and like using it, but like you would have to like explain it to them for them to see it. These men actually believe that the patriarchy is like a good thing. Like they believe, they're like on the Andrew Wilson spectrum with like the whole forced doctrine thing, and like men are supposed to be patriarchs because the Bible like anoints it, not anoints it, but like it basically makes it okay. Do they believe it's a good thing because it does in fact benefit them? I don't think it benefits them. I think they're all deeply miserable, and a lot of these men are in the closet. Like I'm sorry, like again, I'm not trying to be like homophobic here, but this man has literally said that SMEX should not be an egalitarian pleasure party. Let's just like, that's the one thing I really want y'all to understand, is that these men hate women. Egalitarian literally means like equal. So that's like a commonly used term, and it's kind of a dirty word in these reformed circles. It's basically, if you say that you're egalitarian, that means you're not complementarian, which is the thing that they're trying to describe in that clip, right? They're like, we don't believe in egalitarianism. We believe... Isa, stop! Oh my God, he has sugar in his tank. Oh my God. This is what I mean when I say I'm screaming. Yeah, there's definitely some sugar in that tank, because this man could not hate women more if he tried. And I think that oftentimes that really does come from men who have internalized homophobia, and they know that they are not into women, but they force it, either because they believe, well, because being gay takes the patriarchy away from you, like it takes those benefits away from you. And sociopaths, you know what I mean? They need that power. They can't ever like let go of power that they perceive, you know, that a certain belief or whatever is going to give them. So, and yeah, you should feel sorry for the wives. And they will, it's actually really sad, like having been around women like that, the women who have been married for 50 years, like, and it's been, you know, a journey, and it's been like all the ups and downs, and some days it's just the worst. It's like, oh my God, like they are deeply miserable. They age terribly. And like, it's basically like watching a horse be broken in or something like that. Like as soon as like these men's wife gets too independent or gets like too high up at work or whatever, they start talking about, we need to have kids now. You know, God forbid their wives start like a blog or a hobby or something like that. They cannot help themselves but to like, you know, like even if they just get like too popular amongst the women at church, you know, like these men, oh my God, like that's why I've been talking about the hunting wives so much. Yeah, they want their wife to be an extension of them, not their own person. Exactly, creepy. And so it's right. A horse is a man extender. A wife is a man extender. And they'll talk about it like you're in covenant. Like this man has literally... Thanks, lover girl. So this man literally has said, yeah, that Smex should not be an egalitarian pleasure party. So you know his wife has never come once in her life. And yet she's given birth 3 times. That's 3 times more than she's ever had an O. Yeah, their children too. Well, exactly. So that's why his children are his man extenders, because they run like different parts of his ministry. And he has, I think, a daughter and 2 sons, or like a son and 2 daughters. I don't know. But there's one of his daughters is like huge, and she pumps out books about, you know, marriage and motherhood and wifely duties and all of these things. And these men, I'm just saying, they've been saying the quiet part out loud for a very long time. And I have been reporting on this for a very long time. And it's like this crossover of Righteous Gemstones, The Hunting Wives, and unfortunately The Handmaid's Tale. This is what's going on here. That crossover of those 3 things. And I'm so sorry if y'all can hear the like leaf blowing people outside. I unfortunately cannot do anything about that. So let me just make sure I don't miss anything, because I have like, I'm gonna have to get multiple tabs open. Okay, good. Okay, the first show is Righteous Gemstones. That's on HBO. Then there is The Hunting Wives on Netflix. And then there is The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know where that's at. Hulu, probably, Disney. That is basically the amalgamation that's happening here. If you watch all those 3 shows and you like really get it, shiny, happy people. But that's like a real, you know, that's not satire or whatever. Yeah, they really limit the human and spiritual experience. It sounds worse than a fiery hell. So that's one of the things that I always come back to, is that there's an insane amount of dissonance in these circles, and it's there on purpose. And so what happens is that they tell people to love others and to despise themselves. Now, this goes back to the original sin doctrine. And I'm actually like very invested in this Facebook argument right now that's happening on my like old Facebook, where I still have some like people from that circle, the ones that are like deconstructing, but they're basically like starting to post more of their deconstruction journey, and they're starting to question like the whole original sin doctrine, and like the fact that kids are evil from the moment that they're born, which is, by the way, what these people are teaching each other. They're teaching each other that people are so sinful, that we are born with sin inside our hearts, and that every bad thing we do is because of that. And they will be like, no, you can tell that children are wicked and evil because they will lie. You know, they will, they'll fight, you know, they'll steal. And it's like, yeah, that's just like normal. That's like called testing social boundaries. Like, seeing what happens if you do something you're told not to do. It's not, obedience is not, and that's what's scary, because it comes back to obedience, right? Because everything they're saying is basically like something that they do on the regular. Lying, you guys don't think this man lies? He lies. He absolutely lies about a lot of things. You guys don't think he steals? He absolutely steals. This man is probably a pro in tax evasion. You know, if y'all don't think that he is like, has hurt people, I will tell you all about it, because there's literally a mountain of evidence that he has hurt victims of abuse, and that, like, not to mention protected PDF files, like, with his life. So yeah, but basically what they're teaching is obedience. Anything other than obedience is sin. And it starts as young as with children. Now, what that comes back to is that, yeah, like, we all have sin in our hearts. And so that's basically how they view everybody else, right? And so, and basically only like the best and like most like special or elected or, you know, whatever people can like recognize that. They can recognize that there's sin in their hearts and that they're dirty, like filthy worm that deserves nothing, that deserves the fires of hell. And basically God has like given you a second chance. And so now you owe God your entire life, like your entire future, because he gives you eternity, right? It's like it's like the most perfect trick the devil ever pulled. And so basically you view all these other people outside of you as these like insane sinners. And the amount of like pastors that I have personally heard admit that they would be a complete hedonist if it were not for God and like Christianity is extremely disturbing, because what that means is that that is who they really are, and they're probably still doing that stuff behind closed doors, and they're just using God to justify their like depravity. So basically if they ever get found out, they'll be like, oh, the devil made me do it, like my sin nature made me do it. Okay, now they also believe that women and men have like different original sins. So the man's original sin supposedly is passivity, and the woman's original sin is like knowledge, right? Like women are always like kind of doing too much, digging too deep, like curiosity, you know, trespass or whatever. And the man's original sin, according to, you know, Genesis, where God basically calls Adam and says, you know, Adam, what have you done? And then Adam blames it on his wife. They're like, see, that's passive, and men really need to take charge. And so they're basically hyping up men like it's the military, you know, like somebody's going to take their masculine. So like masculinity is huge in these circles. And basically every man is just out there trying to be as masculine as possible. Like, how many GUNs do you have, right? Do you go hunting on the weekends? They even encourage kind of like the brotherly, like sharing of alcohol and cigars and things like that. This man's a huge fan of cigars. And so they very much, like, even though the Bible has things to say about like being addicted to things and like being like misusing that kind of stuff, they don't care. Like, and let me just tell you also from personal experience, these people party. They party. They get very, very drunk. So yeah, it's basically an alter ego for sure. Yeah, they're like, yeah, the only thing that's keeping me from doing all these horrible things is like my faith in God. And they'll usually talk about how bad of a person they were before all of it. Okay, so now let me read y'all the rest of that egalitarian pleasure party quote, because it gets worse. God, sorry y'all. He basically said, a man conquers, penetrates, colonizes, plants. Yeah, there's the other quote of, he says, women are the type of people people come out of. So that should basically tell you like how they feel about women and what they think women's role in society is. And that's why I've heard that there may be a bill floating around, something about, you know, every woman has to have a child, like, and it's mandatory. All of this is the patriarchy. Yeah, that clip was him. Yep. And he's being generous, calling us people. Exactly. So he believes you can like spank your wife, like you can like discipline your wife. And then he also says that like women should like endure sometimes, you know, being called names and stuff and like being smacked around for a night or so. Like every once in a while, you'll basically have to deal with that. Yeah, he said women are vessels. Absolutely. And so it's very deranged, unhinged, sociopathic behavior. But believe me when I say that he and all of his followers have already believed this, right? Before he even said the quiet part out loud, anything like that. Yeah, they don't believe that morality is just a natural human characteristic because, Mackenzie, because it's not natural to them. So they're projecting. This is what I'm always telling y'all. They're always projecting. And so when they say like people are depraved and people just want to sin and everything people do because of sin, Linz, get out of here then. Get out of here. Come back and watch it on YouTube when you're not gardening. But trust me, when they are just projecting. Yeah, smacking your wife is not sin. That's her duty to like endure that. It's her duty to basically, well, that's why they call the wife like the CEO of the home. You know what I mean? She's supposed to be this like absorbent, emotional labor and all other kinds of labor machine. And they equate working 8 hours a day with that. And it's basically it's an extremely parasitic relationship. The marriage under, like the kind of marriages that this church would encourage, basically looks like a man glomming onto a woman like a literal parasite. Like literally, right? A man penetrates, conquers, colonizes plants. Okay? Plants meaning children, meaning he plants in your womb. And so they will, that's basically what they encourage men to do, and this is how they prepare women to act. And also like how they prepare women to sort of think of themselves. We're talking about this man, Doug Wilson, and I'm just telling y'all who he is and what he believes. So basically a perfect marriage in that church looks like a man colonizing a woman like she is a piece of land. Like she is basically the ground where he gets all of his needs met. Okay, and it's very, very scary. And so and trust me, Amy, when they say they want women at home but no one can afford it, what's their plan? They don't care. But trust when I say that these people will make it work. There's people that live in, I mean, gosh, there's accounts. Maybe if I have time, I'll find and tag some like trad wife accounts for y'all, because there's some trad wives that are like living in squalor, like literally squalid conditions. I don't know if that's a word or not, but just terrible, unsafe, unsanitary conditions because that's all her husband can afford to provide for. And it's like a studio apartment in like the bad part of town, and like it's infested and everything like that. Tia Leving's book, The Well-Trained Wife. Thank you, Pamela. That is a must read if you want to learn about this. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning for that book. But yes. But yeah, and there was, and before that, they just lived with his parents. So these people will literally find a way to live. Like, they don't care about, like, they don't care about the things of the world. They think that their reward is in heaven. Okay, this is like the war boys in Mad Max, you know? They're like, to Valhalla or whatever. Like, this is the equivalent, okay? Or they will buy up a bunch of, like, land plots, and they will just start cults on there. Sure, yeah, probably like sundown towns. I can assure you that what kind of people they're not going to be welcoming to. But yeah. But they will live in Hoovervilles before they like, but also like their wives work. And that's the other thing that like people always turn a blind eye to with these fucking pastors is that his wife and his daughters all work. His wife has a ministry. His daughters have a ministry. His daughter writes books all day, every day to spread this ideology out. They don't believe in what they preach. When they say the husband should be the provider, whatever, that means daddy's going to give him a job where he actually does absolutely nothing just to funnel tax money into his children's pocket. Like, this is the Trump playbook also. You know, he just, especially the first time he was in office, he just put his kids in charge of everything. And to this day, like, his kids are sort of like the thing that like bolsters him. Yeah, look how the Duggars turned out because he couldn't afford all those kids. Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, look how the Duggars turned out, period. Like, I mean, you have a child molester in the family and none of the bells are ringing, you know? Nothing is like... So, speaking of child molester, I don't know if y'all know that this man literally put his reputation and everything on the line to protect a PDF file who was convicted on 20, and I'm not joking, 20 different counts of child CSA. The accounts of it are absolutely horrifying. Once again, please check the YouTube upload of this. I will link all the articles that I'm like quoting from. But it is, please just know that I couldn't get through all of it. I couldn't even get through the first few. And the lavish POV, you nailed it, because he was just as guilty. That's exactly right. Because birds of a feather and PDF files always protect other PDF files. Always. And worse than that, not only... Because this man was looking at, I think, life in prison. And somehow he gets out of that. Like I said, I couldn't even bear to read the whole court case. But somehow he got out of that. And then this man married him off to a woman that the PDF file had a child with. And then he also abused the child. An infant boy. So... yeah, those are just some things that Doug Wilson has literally blessed. Like, he blessed that union. Reed, we're talking about how this man is protecting PDF files, so you might want to hold off on that. You might want to hold off on the whole persecution thing, because the first person that needs to be persecuted is right here. Period. Christians aren't persecuted enough. Exactly. One person does not define the religion. He actually does. Like, he actually came out there and like defined the religion, explained everything about it. He said that women shouldn't vote. He said that like women are not equal to men. He said that women are vessels for people to come out of. And then a bunch of people supported him, including our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Strawberry Dewdrops. So Strawberry Dewdrops is articulating one of my pieces of advice, that I won't let fear take me. I'm ready to fight this so hard, and not in a words kind of way. That's my advice. So first of all, you're going to need to fight this by being in community with people. You need to understand that these people have a huge leg up on us right now, because you know what the fuck we're doing right now? We're arguing on the internet about minutia. We're arguing on the internet about, you know, who's doing feminism right, who's doing, you know, liberalism right, okay? These people are meeting every fucking Sunday. They know where to go to vote. They know each other. They can spot each other in a crowd is the other thing. Like, if there's like a protest or something happening, they're gonna see, you know what I mean? People know who goes to their church, and they remember them for probably years. And so they are very, very, very connected. They're very... intertwined. And so when they stop spamming, or you're gonna get blocked. Thank you. And they do very little purity testing of their own because they know that their strength is in numbers. Yeah. Mel, I don't know if it was him, but yes, the thing that they were criticizing the left for, and like, oh, that women are birthing people, like they're basically saying the same thing, that women are... Before I block you, I will tell you, are you judging another race the same way? No. I've been in Christian circles. I know how you people think, and it shows in your behavior. Like the fact that you would show up here and like demand to be like listened to be like talked about, all this kind of stuff. Like that is why you people are dangerous, because you're entitled to things that are not yours. Because you can't just accept that you are allowed to do whatever you want already. Literally nobody's persecuting you. Nobody gives a shit. We only care insofar as you are actively trying to force that on the rest of us. And that's not gonna fly, because this is a free country. Last time I checked, this was fucking America. So, bye, bitch. Yeah, comparing to AA to Christianity is absolutely wild, because people don't go to church to like change. People go to church to affirm what they already believe. Like, people need to understand that. Like misogynistic men go to church in order to have their beliefs confirmed and bolstered, right? Men who are already insecure about their masculinity come to church to be like uplifted about their masculine, to be told how to be masculine. Men who are insecure because like they have no purpose in life, like they go to church to be bolstered, because they know that that's a place where like men will always be inherently more respected than women. That goes for every like iteration, sorry, I forgot what the word is, denomination of Christianity. There's no denomination of Christianity, as far as I'm concerned, where women are believed to be the superior being, when it's like, well, who brought us the literal gift of knowledge? Like, if y'all, like, let me nerd out for 1 second, literally, because if y'all really want to talk about it, Eve is the reason that we can reason. Eve is the reason that we have the fruit of knowledge. And in one of the creation narratives, because there's two and they're very different, and in one of them, the gods say to each other, and now that they've eaten from the fruit of the tree of knowledge, let us banish them from this garden before they eat of the fruit of the tree of eternal life and become eternal like us. They use the word us. So first of all, there's multiple gods. Second of all, the tree of knowledge, eating from the tree of knowledge, is literally the consciousness evolution. And, you know, some people say the Holy Spirit is feminine, but like my church vehemently denied that. Like they were like, no, the Holy Spirit's not a girl. If anything, the Holy Spirit's a boy. That's literally how it was. And like, I think in their mind, God literally has a penis. Yeah, Gnostic Christianity is probably about the closest thing, but it's basically like they would call that paganism. What's my church? I don't have a church. Could they be referring to the angels, not God? No, they said us. Also, angels are not like all-knowing or eternal. Multiple of them get destroyed in Revelation, so angels are not eternal. Yeah, but literally everything in nature is feminine. Anything that bears fruit on earth is feminine. Yeah, this is why this is a perversion of nature, and it's a perversion of our evolution. These people want to go backwards, and they want to pervert nature in a way that will allow men to wreak chaos on the world and other men to profit from that. Like, that is the reason why they don't want women in power. That's the reason why they don't want women in workplaces. Like, they want things. Like, I literally just watched, like, men have never done anything on their own, by the way. Like, there's always a woman has always needed to be brought in. So I don't know what these dumb fucks are talking about. Oh, men need to vote. Men need to... On what basis? I mean, I just watched Hidden Figures for a podcast film review that we're going to do on the Audacity. And I'm like, okay, so y'all have literally never accomplished anything without having to rely on a woman, more specifically in America, a black woman, or just copying it, or just taking credit for her work or whatever. Like you've literally have never accomplished a damn thing, and you would have fucked up that entire space mission had she not been there. That's fucking crazy. Like, men really have the audacity. This is where some things like really start to overlap, because not only, thank you, Lex, not only is this man like not allowing women in like church meetings and stuff like that, but women were not in the church meeting. And this is why I say like he wants other men to just create as much chaos as possible. He's actually just an agent of chaos, and like masculinity as a principle. That's really all this man stands for. But he pretends like it's order. And so the reason that they silo women away is so that he can hold church meetings and tell men that there's a PDF file present in their congregation, and then they can all agree to bro code protect him, because none of these men actually give a shit about protecting children. And so I just very much regret to tell y'all that like this is happening all over the country. This is by far not the only church like this. I have personally witnessed one form in my area. I know that there are multiple. I know that a lot of Slavic people basically essentially believe this. It's very unfortunate. I did not grow up like that. I grew up with kind of like a 90s like Christianity Today type of Christianity, like women, like very egalitarian, if anything, kind of women led, but it was still not like acknowledged that women are the real leaders, but it was very much like you can tell that they were. And in these churches, they force it like that. So somebody says men were chosen by God and women are envious of that. In what way? I'm really curious. In what way were men chosen by God? To do what? You know that women are the only ones that can do what God did in Genesis 1 and 2. They're the only ones that can create a life. So what did God choose men for? Quickly. For what? Leadership? Off a cliff. To God, you men are bodies to be used and disposed of in a war. God oftentimes told people, by the way, for all you pro-lifers here, he told people to kill all the baby boys when they would go and colonize new land. Y'all should really read the fucking Bible, because what did God choose men for? To kill and be killed. That's it. That's what you're good for, according to God. But I think it's really just always been a man. Some man with a God complex. A man like this, who just makes up his own sociopathic rules and gets other sociopathic men around him, and then y'all do this. Fight wars and kill each other. And use women as a life source. That's what. Women, if anything, are the closest thing to God that we have on earth, because of our ability to create life. So I don't know what God chose y'all for. Sounds like y'all are trying to give yourselves a purpose really bad. And you're calling it leadership. You're calling it, masculinity. It's all bullshit. None of it means anything. And that's what that's kind of my ultimate conclusion to this is all bullshit. None of it means anything, especially to him, right? He's talking about I'm pro-life, I want to protect babies, whatever. God has verbatim said, smash their babies against rocks. That's a late term, that's a post-birth abortion. And it's always projection. Like that's always what they're trying to accuse, like, liberals or whatever of doing, and it's like that's not even a thing. Like a post-birth abortion is not a thing. That's actually a crime, but God advocates for that crime and literally instructs his people to do it. Go and smash their babies against the rocks. God has a bear eat a bunch of male adolescents because he didn't like the way that they were speaking to one of his prophets. You all are just bodies to God, and I swear to you, that's what it is. Read the whole Bible and tell me that's not true. If men were born to kill and be killed, why do women complain that men are killing women? Well, it's in your own question. Y'all are discriminate about who you kill. Yeah, God is definitely giving narc. Yeah, we are his favorite son. Go read the Bible. It's explicit there. It's actually not at all. I want to know actually which verse you're quoting, because that I've never read or heard that in the Bible. But even if it were, I believe the Bible was written by men. Like, of course you would say that. Oh, a man in the sky thinks we're special. Yeah, because nobody else does. Because you're other than that, you're utterly unimpressive. The lot of you. Like, when, of course you had to write a book that lies to women about how special you are and lies to you about how special you are. It's not surprising to me at all, even if that is in the Bible. The Bible advocates for slavery. The Bible advocates for child murder. The Bible advocates, has an explicit, thank you, Mateo, has very explicit instructions on how to perform an abortion if you think your wife is cheating on you. Because basically that's the whole test, is like, if something comes out, that means she cheated on you. That's an abortion. They give a woman a bitter drink to drink that's going to make her pass the baby out. How can you be anti-abortion or pro-life with a God like that? You cannot. You absolutely cannot. The cognitive dissonance has to be on level 2000, you know? And that's why it's also scary, because these people are, so I've long had a long-standing theory that the church is full of narcissists and narcissistic abuse victims. And the first half is there because it confirms their beliefs that they're special and God ordained and chosen by God. And thank you, Samaya. And God, you know, forgives them all of their sins, and God loves them just as they are, etc. Because they're like a very deep void of like validation. And so that's why narcs come to church, is to actually like bless their sins. And then the narc abuse victims are like, you know, aka the empaths. They're the other side of that coin, where there's also a need for validation and there's a need for like acceptance and to be accepted. And their sin is that they're willing to compromise themselves completely, and they're willing to accept the dissonance that comes with, and look, it takes one to know one. They're willing to accept the dissonance that comes with believing these like dissonant things in order to be and feel accepted into a community, or because they're afraid of like some kind of eternal consequences, or because they're afraid of just like not getting it right, you know what I mean? Or because they just really need that, once again, that validation of like, there's a daddy God in the sky who loves you and he will protect you from like all these kinds of things. Like, it's basically a substitute parent. And then for the actual narcissist, it's like just a justification, because narcissists, when they sin, they will blame it on everything but their actual self, you know, the actual like person that made the actual decision. They'll be like, no, it's my sin nature. Oh no, it was a Jezebel. Oh no, somebody seduced me, you know, somebody like fooled me, whatever. They will literally never take accountability, never take responsibility. And this man is really good at that, because he has been accused of like covering up multiple essays at the church. He has been convinced, or he has been like accused of covering up for a PDF file. And he just kind of takes it on the nose. Like, he's like, yeah, and he'll be like, yeah, that essay victim, well, why didn't she speak up for like 2 years? And it's like, because that's how essay works. Like, you're not even informed on like how this stuff works. You know what I mean? Like, you're not ordained, you weren't trained, you don't know what you're doing. You're literally just enjoying the power that this gives you over people. And it's really, that's just how it's going. Yeah, patriarchy is definitely DEI for mediocre men. And Christianity is just like the original patriarchy. And that's why they're fighting to make it like a national thing. And like, that's why they're like really planting the roots, which once again, that is very terrifying. And I would say that probably the only cities that are kind of like insulated from this or have kind of their own like built-in systems against this is like cities like maybe New York and Portland, where people actually do like mutual aid and are actually like very involved in their community. Because other than that, it's very sparse out here as far as like people that are on the, you know, the left side of politics, like Democrats, people that want humans all to have equal rights, whether, you know, you're a woman or whether you're a person of color. Because this man also condones slavery, like as a concept. He thinks he uses the patriarchy to justify slavery, and he uses the patriarchy as like a good benevolent thing. Like this man is the ultimate benevolent patriarch, right? He's like, yeah, the slavery was built, hold on. The peculiar institution of slavery was not perfect or sinless, but the reality was a far cry from the horrific descriptions given to us in modern histories, which are often nothing more than a hackneyed reworking of abolitionist propaganda. Slavery as it existed in the South was not an adversarial relationship with pervasive racial animosity. Because of its dominantly patriarchal character, it was a relationship based upon mutual affection and confidence. There has never been a multiracial society which has existed with such mutual intimacy and harmony in the history of the world, from his book Southern Slavery as It Was. So the fact that our Secretary of Defense is a huge fan of this man and was reposting his CNN appearance along with several other pastors, like several other pastors that are part of the movement, like Jared Longshore or whatever. These people are insane. Like, you need to understand that they're literally crazy. And they are like rage baity and stuff like that. Like some of this is rage bait, but this book was written like maybe 10 years ago. Like he wasn't even big then, but that's how he was talking about about slavery. Did he eat the history book instead of reading it? I'll be honest, in America, history books are, you might as well eat them. They're not telling you the truth either. So the fact that he thinks that what little people are told in history books about slavery is like diabolical or whatever. Yeah, he just has a lot of, I don't even want to repeat these things, you know what I mean? Like it's terrible, but he says things like, you know, one could argue that the black family has never been stronger than it was under slavery. He says that many women take antidepressants because they believe in Darwinian evolution. Men, women, and children altogether need to be shepherded by qualified men. So he believes that men should also be led by other men. Like, I don't know where this loop ends. Like, the circular reasoning is so fucking crazy. Like, who leads you, brother? Oh. You know, it's an infinite hierarchy. That's what I mean. It's like, what is a qualified man? You? Like, you look like you eat cheeseburgers for breakfast. Like, what the fuck are you taught? You look like you have skid marks in your pants right now. How the fuck are you a qualified man? I know your wife has to wash your undies in the sink before she puts them in the laundry with the rest of your clothes. I know she does. Because you think it's gay to wipe between your ass cheeks. Let me read y'all one more thing. And this is why, like, I worry that this is the pipeline. Okay, this is the liberal to conservative pipeline via corn. Okay, cornography. Okay, listen to this. I'm gonna read you this one again. And now, but think of corn when I'm reading it, okay? In other words, however we try, the smexual act cannot be made into an egalitarian pleasuring party. A man penetrates, conquers, colonizes, plants. A woman receives, surrenders, accepts. Think of corn when I'm reading, okay? This is, of course, offensive to all egalitarians, and so our culture has rebelled against the concept of authority and submission in marriage. This means that we have sought to suppress the concepts of authority and submission as they relate to the marriage bed. True authority and true submission are therefore an erotic necessity. So, And that's where a lot of the Gen Z men are falling down this pipeline, because they grew up watching Korn. And then they go outside and they're like, women are unsubmissive. Like, women don't want, you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to be just like randomly choked when during our first kiss. Like, that's unsubmissive. I wanted to choke her, bring her down to my knees and shove my dick in her mouth. Like, and she wasn't submitting. These modern women are crazy. I paid for her dinner. Women in Korn do it for free, and then I get to watch it for free. So, I hope that makes sense. And I hope y'all know this is not like the swerve rhetoric. It's not. It's really, really not. What I'm saying is that men's addiction, especially young men's addiction to Korn, is just part of the pipe. It's just kind of like how crunchy mamas, you know, on the left go down the anti-vax pipeline. It's a pipeline. It's like you don't really mean to, but you do. Is that a skоворodka? Yes, that's how we deal with it. Frying pan. Frying pan to the head. Okay, so the education aspect of this is wild, because I once again have come up and close and personal with it. And the things that they are teaching children in schools is literally anti-science. Literally, it's grooming, absolutely. It's anti-intellectualism too. And so please keep that in mind too as we talk about the education system, because this is where it overlaps with our current state of politics, okay? So under our current circumstances, the first action to take, if it applies, is for parents to pull their own children out of the government school system and never think about putting them in. The first motive for doing this is the protection, spiritual, covenantal, academic, etc. of the children. So they just don't want kids to learn, about things, you know what I mean? He says the sooner the current government school system collapses, the better it will be for everyone, including those who were enrolled at the time the schools fell apart. And that's why they dismantled the Department of Education. And yeah, they don't want free thinkers. They definitely, the curriculums are all based in obedience type thinking, and it's very, very disturbing, the whole thing of it. Okay, so from his book called Free Speech in a Christian Theocracy, sorry, it might be a blog post. Must be a blog post. Okay, he says, can someone committed to the long-term mission of the Christian church, which is in fact to disciple all the nations of men, with the end result of that process being the obedience of all those same nations, be genuinely committed to a robust doctrine of free speech? So they're coming for free speech, okay? Now, the Trump administration is posting pictures of people that are criticizing it, on their Twitters and stuff like that. So that's step one against free speech, is making public enemies out of regular people that are criticizing them using their free speech rights. This used to happen in the USSR. Love you, Peyton. Thank you so much. Yeah, this used to happen in the USSR under communism. And I'm not fucking joking, under communism. So these people are the commies that they claim to hate. They're just kind of the other side of that coin, where it's but they're not really. You know what I mean? Yeah, meanwhile, it's free speech that allows him to say his wild, insane point of views. It's true. It's true. Yeah, all the immigrants are in here yup. That's why we're seeing it, you know? Yeah, they're always hypocritical for sure. So he says, our mission remains the same, which is to bring every thought captive. The mission assigned to the church in the Great Commission is the eradication of idolatry in the entire world. So right, once again, we're hearing this kind, he's the kind of person that BS comes out of, is insane. I love that. That's amazing. Thank you, Pleasantly Amused, for that one. So that's where I want you to notice kind of like the speech patterns. Because what did Pete Hegseth say when he like retweeted this? He said, I don't want to misquote it. For all of Christ, something, something. All of Christ for all of life. And that's just kind of how they talk. Like, so what I'm arguing for here is a Christocentric theonomy. Theonomy as though the Christ had come. It is not a question of whether the law of God is just, but rather a matter of how that standard of justice is to be implemented throughout the world. It will eventually show up in the law, but it will not be implemented through the law. This is why my ideal Christian republic set sometime in the future would not have a law requiring a parapet around the roofs of houses, but would nevertheless hold a homeowner liable for damages if a guest fell off a second-story deck that had no rail and broke his arm. You look at a situation, discern the principle, and apply it to a new situation. This means that as we teach the nations and tribes to obey every one of the Lord's commands and to submit to all of his teachings, there's that submission again. This would include his teaching that Old Testament scripture cannot be broken and that he did not come to abolish the law, but rather to fulfill it. And guess what is in the Old Testament? Slavery. The rules of how to be a good slave owner. The rules of like how to sell women like they're cattle. Like how much women cost. How much it costs if you grape a woman. How much it costs if you kill a woman. It's just money. We're just objects to them that cost money. Yeah, so speaking of that wedding that I told you all about, his like sanctified PDF file wedding, he said, not only did I conduct that wedding, but I would do it again tomorrow. And he said this in March 2022. And then he said, and then this explanation says, Doug's reference to that wedding is the marriage ceremony Doug conducted between convicted, fixated PDF file Stephen Sittler and a then student at New St. Andrews College. While Sittler was a student of NSA and member of Christ Church, he admitted to and was convicted of molesting multiple children as young as... He was sentenced to life in prison in 2006, but released on probation after serving less than a year of his sentence. Sittler continued to live in Moscow and attend Christ Church after his release. Several years later, a young NSA student was introduced to Sittler as a possible romantic match by an elder in Christ Church. Doug Wilson conducted their marriage ceremony in 2011. The couple had a child, and in 2015, Sittler admitted in a polygraph test to being sexually stimulated by contact with his infant son and has been alternately separated from and only allowed contact with his children under the supervision of a state-approved chaperone. Despite this, Doug has consistently maintained that he had no authority to refrain from presiding over the wedding of a convicted serial PDF file and a student attending the college he founded, and would do it again tomorrow, knowing that wedding would result in children being born to and raised by a father who is a convicted, fixated PDF file. And yeah, to do a full like deep dive on this, you will need to do that yourself. I'm just trying to show y'all where these things overlap with like where we started this administration and how things have actually progressed exactly as some of us were saying they would. Like the public opinion of women, like CNN is putting this man up there to talk about how women are equally saved by God, but fundamentally different. You know what I mean? Like they're the CEO of the home. That's on CNN. This isn't a Fox News segment. You know what I mean? This is like CNN documenting, platforming this man. And I don't know, maybe they're like trying to warn us, but to me it just screams manufactured consent. Like, I really don't like this because they're giving Pete Hegseth the chance to retweet this with a positive affirmation, right? And once again, so in 2022, he wrote this little piece, all right? So the real point of conflict is not going to arise with this Bible character or that one, the ones who had concubines. The flattening is just starting with them. The discrediting just begins here. They are the Robert E. Lees in this little scenario. David, the rapist, is the Jeb Stuart in this game. The real issue is going to arise with what biblical law expressly allows. And seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall pull the raiment of her captivity from her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month that they killed. They would kill all the men, and they would kill all the non-virgin women. And basically whom they're talking about is virgin little girls. They're not talking actually about beautiful women. They're talking about probably a 13 or 14-year-old here. So she's supposed to shave her head and grieve. Like they're supposed to allow her time to a month to grieve her father and mother who were probably killed in front of her. And after that, thou shalt go in unto her. That means exactly what you think it means. And be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her. So if you were like for some reason disappointed in her in that regard, then thou shalt let her go, whether she will. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. That's what the Bible says. I'm just reading the Bible. But what Doug Wilson has to say about that is, so hey, is there a power dynamic here? The authority of Scripture is one of the statues that's going to have to come down. It is the statue they are actually after in my little parable here. It is the Washington Monument. So basically, he's obviously a statue defender, right? Like he's one of the people that would advocate against a Robert E. Lee statue being torn down. So what he's saying with this is that these verses are like the statues that we cannot tear down. And that is that men can not only humble women by having sex with them and degrade women by having sex with them, but also that the rape of little girls is okay. And that it doesn't even matter if you like, because think of this in a time where there's no birth control, right? So these men, because the context of this Bible verse is like the conquering of a different peoples, like a different land. And like I said, they're basically, the Israelites are told to unalive all the men, all the little boys, all the non-virgin women, and they can take the virgin women with them. The virgin women meaning little virgin girls. And then when they do, and they give them a month to like grieve the passing of their parents, they can have sex with them. Now, once again, there's no birth control, okay? And then if it's like cool, if they like it, then they can like keep her and she can be one of their wives. Or if they don't like it, they basically just send her out. Like with a little note. They can't sell her as a slave, but they can send her out there with a little note that says she's not a prostitute. She could be pregnant, but like that God doesn't care about that. God gave those explicit instructions. Yeah, and this is what men do with their power. You know what I mean? Like, they're literally like, I don't see the problem. Just have sex with her. If you like it, then good. If you don't, send her out. Like, big deal. I mean, wait till y'all read the, like, concubine story from Joshua. Shit's horrifying. And by the way, one of his ideas was the first from his book, The 5 Smooth Stones of Theocratic Libertarianism, written in 2015, or maybe it's a blog post, sorry. The first thing that would happen in a biblical law order is that the EPA, the IRS, the Department of Education, etc. would all be abolished. Legitimate functions of government, defense, state, etc. would be significantly downsized or redirected. What have we done since the beginning of this administration? So I'm just showing y'all where this is making me real nervous, because this man is basically like Project 2025 but worse. I'm sure it's that Project Esther that y'all are talking about. And yeah, every day gets worse, and I know it seems absolutely just, you know, terrifying and hopeless, but my thing is, like, I don't think we have to care. Like, I don't think as women, like, I don't think there's any way that they can actually force this without, like, really... They'd have to pull out all the stops, and I mean all the stops, out of the government in order to enforce anything like this. And last I heard, they were actually hiring more IRS agents, so I don't know. But yeah, strap up, exactly, MJ. And yeah, they would be shooting themselves in the foot. I totally agree. Not that they care about that, but yeah. Can you share what your beliefs are? Are you spiritual? Kind of, but not really. Yeah, they are planning to destroy millions of dollars of birth control. And that's, again, that's all part of this agenda, that women are just vessels for men's children, for more people. Women are the kind of people that people come out of, like... Shooting in the foot, how, well, they're basically coming out there and saying that they don't want freedom. My thing is, Christianity is supposed to be based on like the cornerstone of Christianity is that you have a personal relationship with Christ. Thank you, Mona Lisa. So, like, forcing it on people doesn't work. Like, even if you listen to, like, you know, how Jesus talks about things, like, he would not be okay with that. The only problem is that in the Old Testament, they literally were doing that. Like, that's why they were killing off the men, and they were, like, only allowing young virgin girls to enter their camps because, A, that produces more people. Like, you can't kill the women because women are the invaluable resource. Like, to God, men are disposable. To God doesn't give a fuck about, you know, men or, you know, just like killing, like mowing them down. You know, he literally said, you will smash their baby boys, their babies, against the rocks. And so women are kept as booty, like literal, like spoils of war. Why am I saying all this? Oh, because, yeah, this is literally what the Old Testament allows men to do. Like, to just literally, like, unalive other men, take young, impressionable, still moldable girls into the camp, basically F them, hopefully get them pregnant, and then raise those children with indoctrination in mind. Like, that's really the only way to make all nations, like, Christian. Because other than that, people have their own beliefs. People want to believe what they want to believe. And that's why there's going to be, like, the witch hunts. That's why there's going to be the, like, demonizing of older women that are, like, you know, saying stuff about this and That's just how it's going to go. They're going to try to silence as many people as they can. Like I said, in the USSR, you used to literally just be executed for like disagreeing. And neighbors would spy on each other and report wrongdoing to the government, wrongthink to the government. They would report criticism of the government to the government. And then the government would come and take you out back. And that's because people did not take a big fat orange Yahtzee out back before all of this happened. Yeah, we saw that in COVID. Yeah, I know, and I hate to say it, but like, yeah, that's kind of what, it just sucks that every time, like everything can be used for like good or bad, right? And it's very easy to go back and like paint the COVID safety measures as like some kind of government, like, you know, overreach or control. And I wouldn't necessarily argue with that it was a governmental like overreach and that it was control and that it could have been like definitely and has been used to sort of like manufactured consent. But at the same time, it's also science. Like it's also like, if you get a vaccine, like there's a reason why we have several diseases. Like we had them almost eradicated. Like we had polio almost eradicated. We had chickenpox, you know, all of these things almost eradicated. And instead, like all these people are going to be bitching about the COVID measures and everything like that. Guess what? They're going to be the first ones to do. Use those exact measures to figure out who's Christian and who isn't. And who needs to go to like a mind re-education camp until you believe in God. Because once again, this used to happen in the USSR, but the other way around. And RB, I would say, yes, they force religion because it's for control. But in other countries like the USSR, it was actually eradicating religion and using science as the basis of control. And like the no God, you know what I mean? There's no God except the government. Because sometimes like when people have the afterlife in mind, it's easier for them to like rise up and, you know, do something. And so it really doesn't even matter. Like they'll use anything to control people. But yeah, so he says things like, because of the growth of feminism in our culture generally, women have risen to positions of influence in our civil realm. While the Bible does not prohibit women in civil leadership per se, the instance of Deborah comes to mind, the Bible does say that when feminine leadership is common, it should be reckoned not as a blessing, but as a curse. And this is from his book, Federal Husband. Yeah, there you go. Talos says women's abortions, divorces, and promiscuity is coming to an end. Like, I'm telling y'all, these people are out here. They're amongst us. And they're just walking around, like, repeating these dumb things, you know, like a bunch of zombies. Boy. You sound stupid as fuck. Yeah, imagine the other content he sees. Like, I don't even know how he fucking landed here. It's scary that people are believing this stuff for sure, but just know that the only people who do believe this stuff are incredibly insecure. And so all you really have to do is just like not be scared of them, because that's what they want. They want to elicit a reaction. But when you really listen to them, they're both stupid and like evil for evil's sake. Like, I cannot imagine, other than you wanting something bad to happen to a child, I could never imagine marrying off a convicted, fixated PDF file to a young woman who is like, you give your blessing, right, Pastor? And he says yes. There's no world in which that is not an evil thing to do. And this man's over here talking about Trump missed the mark on the Epstein thing. Like, he really let us down. Like, why do you care? You literally oversaw the marriage of a PDF file to a young woman that he impregnated and then molested that child too, and can now only see the child under supervision. Mind you, he was molesting kids while their parents were home and awake. That's how bold and brazen this man was. He was sentenced to life in prison, and he got out in a year. Probably because people like this lobbied for him and sent letters and stuff like that. So after reading Deuteronomy 11, I saw nothing condoning rape. Okay, we can read it together. So this is what it says about marrying a captive woman. When you go to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands and you take captives, if you notice among the captives a beautiful woman and are attracted to her, you may take her as your wife. That already implies rape, because it's like, take her as your wife. Like, there's no consent there. You know what I mean? Bring her into your home and have her shave her head, trim her nails, and put aside the clothes she was wearing when captured. So strip her of her identity entirely. After she has lived in your house and mourned her father and mother for a full month, then you may go to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. If you are not pleased with her, let her go wherever she wishes. You must not sell her or treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her. So even God the man believes that sex with men dishonors a woman. So that's weird. Doesn't say ask her father's hand in marriage. Well, that's because they killed her father. Yeah, women, children, and the earth are just objects to be used and abused at their will in these men's eye. And I think that's what it comes back to. And that's why they just want to like entrench this Christian nationalism, because they think it's going to be like good for capitalism. Is this a new Bible? It doesn't matter. What do you mean? A new Bible? This has always been in the Bible. Yeah, these are the protectors. I mean, God the protector of women and children. Like, it's not KJV. I can read it in KJV. It'll say the same thing. I think I actually did earlier, but here. Yeah, that's what I read it in earlier, and it still said the same exact thing. But if women can't work, wouldn't capitalism be greatly damaged? Maybe not if AI takes a bunch of jobs. No, that's going to happen. So they're already trying to get out ahead of the curve. But yeah, women have always worked. Women just will no longer get paid for their work, and they will be forced, right, to be the thing that men conquer, colonize, and plant in. That's the goal. The goal is to cure the male loneliness epidemic by giving every man a wife so that men can lead them off a cliff. Like, this man just wants to see chaos and destruction happen. And I think Trump is the same. I think everything they touch turns to dust and shit. And the only thing that Trump actually hasn't run into the ground and into bankruptcy is an entire country. And now here's his chance. I'm telling you, these men do not want to see people prosper. They want to cause chaos and watch it unfold. They are the devil that they preach against. They are the demons that they preach against. They're obsessed with smex. They're obsessed with people's private parts because they are not free to do what they want to do with their private parts. Because let me read... before I get off of here, let me read y'all some of the things that he said about homosexuality. So would I ever taunt a slave of a particular sexual sin with the word like the F word? Of course not. But when these Pharisees of football are falling all over themselves to ban the PH word, and all driven by an insolent spiritual pride that represents our current apostate elites very well, I am more than willing to have some fun over their failures of imagination when it comes to phallic placement. It's their pride that makes it so. I have other questions I'm leaving unanswered. One of them has to do with the government treatment of certain individuals convicted of certain homosexual acts in some unnamed Christian republic 500 years from now. They are reasonable questions, but please keep in mind that I'm in a series of controversies of some unreasonable people, so I will answer generally. In such a republic, would homosexual acts be against the law? And if so, what would the penalty be? Like I said, reasonable questions. Yes, such behavior would be against the law, just like it was throughout all 50 states of just a few short years ago. And what would the penalties be? The answer to that question requires a certain level of cultural maturity beyond what is currently in evidence that has to take into account careful exegesis of the Old Testament texts, the nature and purpose of common law, the circumstances of each particular case, the flow of redemptive history, and the forgiveness that is offered to everyone in Jesus Christ, which is basically a long way of saying they used to be stoned to death, and not in a fun way. They used to be killed to death with a bunch of rocks. And basically that's what we would do in this Christian nation. What's wrong? So this is from a post called The Natural Use of the Woman. What's wrong with being used? It is the great sin of homosexual men that they abandon the natural use of the woman, is it not? So this is the man that CNN is platforming. This is the man that Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, is retweeting. And mind you, they definitely, like, he is like referred to, oh, we should have services like this in the Pentagon, like all that kind of stuff. And so this man is like rubbing elbows with some of the highest up people that we have in the government. And this should terrify absolutely everybody. And so I just wanted to make, like, again, me exposing all of this is just scratching the tip of the iceberg. You guys don't understand. He says some crazy shit like this about 11,000 times a day. And people listen to it and they retweet it and they support it. And there's people that just can't wait to get rid of the 19th Amendment, which, by the way, has voting rights for more than just women. Okay? Yeah, my friend's husband is building a compound in Idaho so they can join his church. Yep. Yeah, this live will be up on YouTube. Yeah, Jamie, I agree with you. I'm definitely like an anti-natalist at this point, but these people are very pro-natalist. And so it's kind of like the real evil of this, and the reason I know that it's evil is because it fights fire with fire. Like anytime somebody's like, yeah, when they go low, we go lower, that's a downward spiral. That's a backward spiral, right? Ideally, humanity would be like looking at like pro-human behaviors, like pro-humanist behaviors, like pro-women behaviors, pro-black women behaviors, especially, right? And this is like a pro-white man, like very obviously so. Again, they're not just saying the quiet part out loud. They've been screaming it from the rooftops for years. Years this man has been building an army. And now we, on the left, are completely unprepared for this. Absolutely unprepared, because we've been all about who's the most righteous. Like we're just like flipping the other side of the coin. It's crazy to watch, because on the left it's like, no, who's got it all right? Who never misses? You know what I mean? People didn't want to vote for Kamala because of like Palestine and Gaza, which is, yes, morally reprehensible, but both parties were always going to keep doing that. Like not voting for her didn't change a thing. It just sped up the process. Like, and it gives people absolutely no chance to like have any recourse against it, because now we have a dictator in office. And that's what the left has accomplished. Meanwhile, the right has been building an army of white men and weird pick-me women that are willing to pop out 5-6 children per man. Like, God, this is fucking terrifying. And the left is over here, oh, but this is performative activism. Shut the fuck up. Oh my God, shut the fuck up. Like, go meet up in person. Go make a friend. Like, seriously, go volunteer at a food bank. Like, go do anything. Anything to be as productive and as connected as these people are. Because you're not, and I'm sorry to break this to the ladies, but you're not going to find an island where the men are just going to leave you alone. The men need bodies. The men need vessels. Okay? And they're forcing us to come down and battle them at their level. Because they will take us out back. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. The authority, when I say like we need to take people out back, like I'm kind of not joking, because I'm showing you how the other side actually thinks. Because that's what they're going to do. The first step is to demonize the people who criticize the administration. The next step is to execute them. What is unclear? What is unclear? That's what's going to happen. And again, anyone who's going to say this is alarmist, this is not really happening, please go check the videos I made immediately post the election. And what did I say Trump was going to do with DC and the White House? I said he's either going to blow it up or fortify it. What did he just fucking do in DC? You guys have to listen to people who have lived this. You have to listen to people whose parents, more accurately for me, whose parents lived this and lived to tell the stories. Do you know that my parents have never once voted Republican? Yeah. Never once. Even when we first came here and the differences between like the two political parties were kind of like not that big. My mom blew up a fucking Bible study. Like, that's what I remember my mom doing, because they were talking about Christians should vote Republican. And she was like, are you guys fucking dumb? They're gathering at churches weekly and brainwashing people while we fight each other. Exactly, Floor. Exactly. Yep, all the Never Kamala leftists are partially to blame for this. Absolutely. And y'all know, like, who lived on an island. Like, don't forget the person who actually lived on an island. That's the only person that's going to be protected living on an island, is a PDF file. Women will never be protected from just like running off to an island and like, you know what I mean? Like, I love that. I love the intention. A for effort. A for imagination. But like, men are going to come with guns and take... You know what I mean? It's ordained by the Bible that God's people can just come and claim women that are just unattended. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Like, this is not an escapism thing. You cannot escape this. You cannot go underground from this. Okay? I love you guys, but you're not going to go underground. You're not going to go to an island. You need to unite. Okay? There's not going to be enough CEOs that are going to be like taken out back or whatever, because they're just going to stop reporting on it. CEOs apparently are being taken off the face of the earth and we know nothing about it. Okay, so everybody who's like daydreaming about underground communities and islands and stuff, that's not how you're going to beat this thing. They're going to find you because they are colonization oriented. They are conquering oriented, and they will not stop. So what we need to do is actually just be up in their face like this, because they're the ones that are scared and they want us to be scared too. But I'm not scared of a man with skid marks in his pants, okay, who looks like he hasn't eaten a vegetable in like his entire motherfucking life. He looks like one of those people that would like cry, like throw a little tantrum if he had to eat a fucking one single vegetable. So please don't be afraid of them. They're just like really fucking stupid. But if you actually allow your fear to guide you into isolation, to underground, to some island, to the same kind of communes that they want to have, okay, you need to understand, like, it's got to be the opposite of that. It's got to be the opposite of that. The way that people fought like oppression, in my country, and other immigrants, please share, but the way that people fought it is by like, yes, like avoiding these things, but on some level not. Like they would basically became like a trade and barter economy that just bypassed the government that wanted to take over all of the means of production. And the crazy thing about people calling this communism is that the people never owned the means of production, which is the actual definition of communism. It's that the government wanted the means of production surrendered to them, and so people just did it. They just avoided it. They just bypassed it. And that's what we're gonna have to do. Yeah, don't be afraid of men. Exactly. Thank you, Eva. Don't be afraid of men who can't find milk in a grocery store. Like, you could send this man to the store with like a list and like the kind with the pictures, and he would not be able to find, like, match a single item. Like, this man would fail at things like a simple memory game, where you flip the cards and then you try to match the card. Like, promise you, he can't play that game. He's too dumb. So don't be afraid of them. Don't run away. Don't like lock yourself up in your house, because these people are not afraid to meet publicly. You know what I mean? Like, this is the problem with the Democrats and like the left and stuff like that, is like, y'all are not willing to live your beliefs as loud as these people because you're afraid somebody's gonna like point at you and make fun of you for living wrong, which probably will happen. But it's like, these people are already doing that to you. Like, what have you got to lose? You know what I mean? Just fucking get over it. Get over that need for validation. That's what I mean. It's like, that's why people are in the church. And if you are so afraid of like not being validated by like how you're living your life, or like you're afraid of being invalidated by other leftists, like, you're not cut out for a revolution. You're not cut out to support an actual revolution. You're a little chicken. Like, don't be that. Live your life loudly, proudly. Don't let this man like scare you. Look at him. He's a fucking 2 cheeseburgers away from a massive heart attack. Like, those arteries are clogged up as hell. I'm having trouble with this part. I don't care about that part, but how do we make friends when most are in a cult and trying to cult us? What do you mean? Like, do you mean like you just live in like a red area or something like that? Or what? Because I don't understand. Like, I make friends all the time. My friend circle is only getting bigger, actually, the further I get away from, like, the more that kind of life is in my rear view. Not only is my friend circle getting bigger, but it's also like when I am finished hanging out with the friends that I have, it's like I feel recharged. I don't feel drained like I always used to. Like, I always thought I wasn't a people person, but it turns out I only had friends who were a drain. And because they were so self-conscious and so insecure, that like hanging out with people like that is really exhausting. So my advice would be just find other people who seem secure in who they are. The blue-haired feminists, you know what I mean? The reason that they scare the pants off of men like this, the blue-haired feminists, is because it takes a certain level of like being secure in yourself to do that stuff. The reason that they're so threatened by people speaking out is because they're speaking out of fear and hatred, and they assume that other people are doing the same thing when they're not. And so you gotta scare them more than they scare you. Yeah, that's why they hate trans people too, exactly. Yep. I do also believe in like sinister. I do kind of agree with you there. Maybe I need to go back to church just to shake things up. You know, maybe you do like a reverse evangelicalism, a reverse outreach program. You know what I mean? Where like a bunch of blue-haired feminists show up to the church and recruit women to their cult. I don't know. Infiltrate their spaces. See, this is what I'm talking about, but you aren't mentioning any violence. What about our safety, especially women? We did talk about this. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the left is so quick to be like, but you didn't say this, but you didn't say that. What do you want to think for yourself? Or do you just want to come here and like, you know what I mean? Or do you need a leader like this who thinks that like men, women, and children should be led by qualified people? Do y'all have a brain of your own? Like, I love you, genuinely. But if you're worried about your safety, let me ask you, what are some things you can do? If you're worried about your safety, let's all learn to think critically together. Okay? Because this is what these people are saying right here. Women will be put back in their place. Enough is enough. What do you think we can do with that? Like, yeah, probably owning a gun. There you go. Good job. There you go. Pepper spray, brass knuckles, a taser. You're safe. Exactly, Sarah. Your safety is fucked if they get their way anyway. Exactly. Thanks, y'all. This is like this has been my Roman Empire for a long time. Okay? Yeah, leftist militias absolutely need to be a thing. Like, why do y'all think the Black Panthers existed? Why do y'all think that, like, punks existed? You know what, like Jace Mercutio, the person I was telling y'all to follow, the man I was telling y'all to follow in the beginning of this live, like he taught me that like gay men were actually called punks, and that was like a derogatory term. And so that's why like punks even started, you know, was because they took that term and sort of like redefined it and became like a nuisance to these like groups that were trying to, I understand, but I'm saying, why did the Black Panthers have to exist? Because they understood that you have to employ a certain level of violence in order to like fight the establishment at all. And their existence was the reason that it was like erased or whatever, is because it was caused a threat. And the reason that things didn't get worse is because people understood that like, yeah, we can like take out the Black Panthers, but other groups will continue to rise up. And so they, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can't erase psychopaths with poetry. Exactly. Like at some point, peace doesn't work. And I would encourage y'all to watch that Freak TV thing that's on HBO. Hold on. Hold on. Freaky Tales. Freaky Tales on HBO. Watch that shit. Watch that shit. That is what I'm talking about. And I've always said this, you know? And it's like the Bolsheviks. Those were the people that let the government know that like you have to dissolve the USSR, right? Could have been a thing for a very long time if it wasn't for people that fought it with violence. What's it about? Just watch it. Trust me. It's a little bit trigger warning for like, it's like for fans of horror, but it's like a little anthology. So you don't even have to watch the whole thing all at once. It's like, for those of you who don't know what an anthology is, it's like a bunch of short films under one umbrella. Under one, like, it's kind of thematic, like, so it's all basically about kind of like, It's a fever dream of showdowns and battles, basically, but it's political. Like, it's political in its nature. But, like, the very first one, that's what it talks about, is that, like, these people will force you into violence, but, like, when that's the only option you have, that's the only option you have. You can't be afraid. You can't be like, oh, but what are we going to do about our safety? Bro, what are you going to do when this man says that every woman has to have a child mandatory? Would you rather do a little bit of violence, or would you rather be forced to be a vessel that people come out of? Like, I don't know. I would rather DIE trying to, like, dismantle that, to make sure that that doesn't happen. Because at some point you also have to ask yourself, like, I'm a 34-year-old woman, right? I'm probably not going to be at the top list of their candidate. Like, by the time that these laws, if they do go into effect, I'll be probably in perimenopause, okay? They're not going to force me to carry a child, right? But do I care about, like, but what do I care about? Do I care more about my safety, or do I care more about the future of little girls in this country? Do I want to see little girls be married off at 14 years old? Because that's the first step, and they're already talking about doing that. They're talking about lowering the age of consent to 14 years old across the country. They don't want to leave that up to the states, you know? So, like, what are we going to do, ladies? What are we going to do? Those of you that are not in your childbearing years anymore, what are you going to do? Are you going to plant a tree whose shade you might never sit in? That's a decision we are going to have to make. Are we going to go out there and risk our safety to prevent worse things from happening? I don't know. That's a big question in this individualistic as hell society. Because this was not, like, this is how I was born and raised. Like, the Ukrainian way is like, you perish before you let bad things happen to other people in your country. Like, that's how I was brought up. America's different. America has been very disappointing in that regard. People only come out when their money's threatened. No kings. Yeah, no kings. Okay. No kings. Didn't fucking care before. But now that they want to come after, 401ks, now people are upset. Okay. Y'all only care when it touches your money. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that sucks. That's shitty. At some point, you have to just be like, fuck it, safety or not. Like, we can't let these people win. People are waiting for a vigilante to come through, like, oh, Luigi, and what? And what? You know what I mean? Like, you have Marvel movies. Oh, just wait for the Avengers. Avengers who? Right? The white men? The white man Avengers? With the token, like, white woman? That's who's the whole administration right now. And Pam Bondi, right? That's your Avengers. Women have always had to save themselves, Yeah, the Joker worship, the vigilante worship, the, like, Robin Hooding, like, it's all crazy. The only thing that's going to help is just collective action and collective support, like community support. Yeah, we're all very disconnected. Like, the average leftist has no community. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. The average leftist, no community. TikTok, And the community on TikTok is, once again, on the left, has been hypercritical, has been hyper, like, bypassing the big issues and hyper focusing on people, oh, but you said this, but you didn't say this. Okay, then you fucking say it. Do you know what I mean? Why the fuck are you waiting for me to do the right thing? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy behavior, right? We are supposed to be a tapestry. We are supposed to be a movement, a collective movement. And it has been absolutely like dismantled by people being like, no, I'm more right than you. I care more than you. And you didn't, and you said this, but you didn't say that. Like, da 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 da. It's a westernized flavor of leftism, like, absolutely. And I'm not trying to shame those of y'all that are having trouble finding like friendships and stuff like that, but that's what I'm saying is the problem of like the leftist community and like the leftist mindset. Okay, so how do we mobilize when they're trying to come after people for what they post online? So Amber, that's kind of what I'm getting at. We have to get offline. Like, we have to, like, online activism and like spreading news and stuff like that is really good. But yeah, Amber, grassroots, because that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Yeah. Yep, men patriarchs can't survive without white women's support. You can withdraw it. Like, men patriarchs cannot exist without other men's support, you know? So if there's any men here that like care about these things, stop supporting men, stop being silent, you know? And see, this is what, okay. So the thing that we don't necessarily want to mimic is the whole like leadership and like book clubs and like whatever. That's what church is, right? I feel like in order for the leftist movement to be more effective than the far right movement, it has to be based in like actual service and not like conditional kind of not that like conditional kind of community, right? And so it just has to be actually helpful. It has to be actually inclusive. Exactly. We need to embrace queerness and joy more than ever. Yes. And reject tradition and embrace modernity. This country needs a third party. I totally agree. But for now, we have to vote Democrat. I know some people in here are saying I'm done with Democrats. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to get you to do. None of these crazies are being like, oh, I'm done with the Republicans. No, they're going to vote Republican harder. Okay? So we need to get on that same page. Because a third party right now is just going to like muddle things, you know? Can you register people to vote? I mean, yeah, like anything like that, you know? There is, like, I live in a city where this is, like, very much the culture. But it works. I mean, people literally post, and I'm not talking about necessarily, like, oh, you have to do these, like, all of these things that seem impossible to start with. What I'm saying is, these people gather just to like sit there, dress up, listen to somebody talk for like 45 minutes and then sing a couple of songs. Like, that's all it is, okay? So in my community, there's a guy who's like, hey, who wants to start a drum circle? Email me here. That's what I'm talking about. What are you good at? Do you know anything? Like, can you teach a free yoga class somewhere? Can you like teach people how to knit in a park? Like, can you just put up a flyer at a local bookstore to like, you know what I mean? We have people that are like, oh, hey, I'll teach you martial arts for free. Come to this park, you know? Volunteer at a community garden. Yeah, absolutely. You'll meet lots of cool people at community gardens. gather in positive ways. Don't gather in ways that are meant to like radicalize people or whatever. We need to connect. Yes, signs in my new neighborhood for a meditation circle. Just go. What's the worst thing that can happen? Like, people need to remember, you're your own person. You don't like the meditation circle, get up and leave, okay? But just go check it out. Go check it out. If you see that your neighbors are like struggling, offer to help, like offer, even like connecting with people that don't share your political beliefs, like that helps. You know what I mean? You don't have to be like nice to them or friends with them, but if you are able to do like a random act of kindness to somebody that doesn't share your political beliefs, well, that might like bring them closer to your political belief. Again, that's what these people believe, and it works. It works. Because people will be like, yeah, a Christian was nice to me once, so I went to church and I loved it there. Like, why can't that be a drum circle? Why can't that be like a farmer's market? Yeah, an art class or something like that. Oh, I went to an art class and everybody was so nice. So I decided to go to art class again next week instead of church. Like, so great. Yeah, seeds for sure. Even just hanging out in like local places until you see other people that are there regularly too, and like strike up a conversation. Like, I make a lot of friends at my yoga studio, poetry nights. Yeah, things like that. Because yeah, it's like, no, you're not going to beat fascism with poetry, but gathering for things like that is good. It's like builds up your soul. Because that's what they're doing. I'm just telling y'all, the grassroots, and we're so behind. We are so behind because they're in DC already. And what do we have? Jack shit. Bar trivia nights, totally. Some great ideas in here, y'all. Therapy groups, volunteer centers, libraries, the gym. Yes. All of those places. And you'll be able to spot people that are like you. I have, there's bookstores in my area that have like a different book club every week. Nature walks. Yep. People do nature walks. Like, look for those flyers. Connect at conventions. Museums have like a free every first Thursday or something. Dog parks, absolutely. Local events, like my husband and I go to all the local events. We go to all the like farmers markets, all the fairs, all the flea markets. Let me show you something. So many of these, but like every time we go, like we take people's like cards and then we shop local. We'll be like, oh, we need blank, or I need like a necklace for an event or something like that. And then it's like, boom, here you go. Amulets made by somebody in my community. You know what I mean? There's like, we have custom one-of-a-kind items. We have other jewelry, embroidery, 3D prints, fair trade products from, overseas. Like, I know exactly who to call for anything I need, or just order it online. Artists, artisan encourager, candle maker, Yeah, protests, absolutely. Like, yeah, Reina, hiking groups, totally. Yeah, women only yoga class. I mean, there's people who do free yoga in your community. Like, if you live in like one of the bigger cities, again, I'm kind of speaking from a place of like privilege, but hopefully other people have access to these things as well, or can be the access. Like, some people think that they're living in like a very red community, but I don't know, put up a flyer and see who wants to connect. People are definitely looking for community. Yeah, NPR had a segment, thank you, Lago the Mermaid, on the women who organized the Montgomery bus boycott. Like, they knew how to organize community, exactly. Yep, any interest you have online, you can either start or join IRL as online. Game stores often have like, game nights and stuff like that. Of course, always be safe. Don't get targeted by your flyer, and use like a email address that has something to do with not like your name, you know. But yeah, exist and thrive and do it together. Also, you can teach yourself like helpful skills. Like if you really are in like isolated or whatever, like not safe area, start teaching yourself like prepper shit, because you will be useful in the community, and that's how you can keep yourself safe. Like if you're really worried about that. Yeah, the library has all kinds of groups. Like people are just, you know, again, like being an immigrant, I've actually always have taken advantage of these kinds of like, of these kinds of things, because it's, hey, Sabelle. Okay, I'm gonna take one more question, then I'm gonna get off because I'm getting like dizzy and sweaty. But immigrant from where? From Ukraine. But I used to spend my whole day at the fucking library, you know? And like I used to go to the middle school in my area, the one I ended up attending. They used to do these like something program called like Lighthouse or something. And it was just like a free place for like kids to hang out, and they would have like open up the basketball courts. They would have like arts and crafts and things like that, a little bit of food. So as an immigrant, I took advantage of like all the free programs in the community. So it's like I'm not new to this, I'm true to this, you know what I mean? Like we've always have done that. And so I'm just telling y'all it's easier than you think. And like, yeah, some people in there are going to be weird, and that's okay. Because again, people will deal with lots of weirdos in the church, and they'll protect them and stuff like that. So we just got to get on that level. Okay, so the last question is, I feel I don't relate to women my age because they haven't decentered men yet. And how are they supposed to learn how to do that unless you start planting those seeds in their mind? Like if you are ahead of that, you know, on the conveyor belt, thank you, baby. If you're a little bit ahead in that process, like that's, you know, we need that right now. Like I normally wouldn't like encourage you to be friends with pygmies, but if you feel like you have a good grasp on decentering men and you feel like you're not going to get sucked into the pity party that is being friends with the pygmy, you can maybe make a difference. You can maybe, you know, plant some interesting ideas, ask some interesting questions. Like that's how we start a revolution, I'm telling you, is by talking to each other. And that's why, like I said, the USSR government had people spying on each other through the walls, because it's that kind of organizing that is the scariest to the government, is people just looking left, looking right, and being like, hey, are we locked in? Are we locked in? And then turns out you are locked in. Turns out you hate the same things about the government. Turns out, you know, now people from the right actually want to join because they're getting burnt. Because that's the thing with authoritarian government, is like they are increasingly oppressive. And so people are going to start dropping off of these places, and they're going to need new communities to join. And that's where we have to come in. But yeah, I love y'all, especially those that were here the whole time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always, you know, my goal to kind of encourage people after these things start happening. You know, I kind of tried to do this last time. I was like, just don't panic. Just, you know, we're going to get through this. And we still are going to be through this. We're still going to get through this just fine. And Sabelle, thank you for doing it anyway, you know. It's going to be weird. Some people are going to look at you weird for talking about decentering men, decentering like toxic masculinity. So what? They're the ones that's like living a miserable life because they refuse to do that. So you are just trying to share the good news with them. Their reaction does not have to like make you feel any type of way. And I'm sure it doesn't. Again, if you're secure in yourself, you're going to be like, oh, well, I tried. So yeah, MAGA wives have it worse than we knew, totally. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Lagoa. Thank you, Floor. Thank you, Raina, Eva, Sarah. Thank you, Sabelle. I love y'all. Okay, I'll put this up on YouTube, and I'll try to include like lots of different links. All right, y'all. Have a great day. I love you. Mwah.